I combined the best parts from fxAlexG strategy and fxJordanG strategy to create the best entry model for your trades. In this video, I'm going to show you how I combined both their strategies to completely maximize your entry positions so you can get perfect entries almost to the exact PIP to get the most profits out of all your trades. First, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, and then I'm going to bring you to the charts and we're going to go through an example so you can see exactly how it plays out in person on an actual trade. Okay, so we're here in TradingView and I'm going to explain how exactly I combined both their strategies to create the best entry model for your trades. So as you know, fxAlexG, he uses support and resistance to trade. All right, he is a type of trader that is simply waiting for a breakout, come back, retest an area of interest with previous market structure in order to take a position, something along the lines of this, right? This is what AlexG trades. The way that Jordan trades, he trades through supply and demand. And the way that supply and demand works is that you have a bullish candle, let's say followed by a bearish candle. I'll turn this red real quick, right? And what he looks for is the retracement back into the wick part. That was a bad wick. He waits for the retracement back into the wick of the last bullish candle for sells and the last bearish candle for buys, right? So he is looking for something like this for the chart to continue downwards, right? And this is how the supply and demand works. When supply and demand is you wait for a push to happen, right? So we have this push that happens and we wait for the retracement back into the previous bullish candlestick. So in this case, this would be the previous bullish candlestick, right? Let me turn this blue for you so we can just understand it a little better. This would be the previous bullish candlestick that happened before the push downwards for this bearish move if we're looking for sells, right? So he waits for this perfect retracement for it to tap the last zone, whether it's supply or demand, before selling off here, right? And he normally puts a 10 to 20 pip stop loss or above recent highs, whatever it may be. So I basically combined these two strategies to create the best entry models so you could have super low stop losses and hold your trades longer with those weekly and daily biases, so you have that swing trading aspect part of the supply and demand strategy as well. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to understand once I walk you through an example. So let's go through this example and let me show you exactly what I look for when it comes to the entry signal using supply and demand and with this area of interest. So in this case specifically, this is GBP USD. This one does not have an area of interest. This was a counter trend trade. And normally whenever I have a counter trend trade, I break my rules just a little bit and I only look for entries using supply and demand to go the other direction because there really is no area of interest that I have. In this case, there was an area of interest down here where I was looking for long positions, but you see we haven't gotten to that point yet, right? We are at the top of this push waiting for the retracement all the way back down before to head to the upside again. So in this case, I might look for a counter trend trade. And the way that I use supply and demand, it has to be in confluence with somewhat of my Fibonacci sequence as well, right? So we can see here that on the daily, we've created, some resistance points. We look like we're starting to turn around a little bit, so which looks great. We're also at a very high point on the daily time frame. It's very unlikely that this is just going to continue to go very bullish without having some sort of retracement. And also on the 4 hour, we can see a very clean reverse head and shoulders as well, right? So what we're looking for here is now a reversal trend trade and trying to pick out where the supply and demand zones are, where we can have the best entry possible, almost to the exact pip, right? So in this case, since we're going short, we look for supply. When we're going for longs, we look for demand. All right, so let's start marking up the chart with exactly where these supply zones are and how we can use it in our entry, right? So we can see the lower low being made, lower high, lower low. We're going to come back and retrace into this lower high, but where are the supply zones? So the supply zones are the area, the lower part of the wick of the previous reversal candle. So let me change this color real quick. I keep on forgetting how to change the color of a candle, right? So in this case, right, this, I'm going to blow this up, right? So this little section right here, we have this kind of movement. All right, we have this, and then we have a candle that continues downwards like this, right? And this is the red candle. So this is exactly this, just blown up. Now the supply zone, right? The supply zone is the lowest part of the wick of the previous candle from the reversal, right? I feel like I didn't exactly say that correctly, but I feel like you kind of understand what I'm saying, right? So we can see here, this is a blue candle. This is a red candle. This is a bullish candle. This is a bearish candle, right? So price action went bullish, turned bearish, and now if we're looking for sells, we mark up the lowest point of the wick from the previous bullish candle, which would be right here. Okay, that is our supply. Okay, and this goes for any time frame. This can be for the daily, this can be for the 4 hour, right? This can be the daily, this can be for the 4 hour, this can be for the 30-minute, this could even be for the 1 minute, right? This can be for any time frame at all. It is the lowest part of the wick from the previous candle if it's a different color, right? We only wait to draw our supply once the next candlestick closes. Okay, so we only draw this line here. I have it purple, you could have it whatever color you want. We only draw this line once this red candle closes, because if this red candle doesn't close, then this can still have a chance to flip into the bullish, and now it's not, this is not a supply, right? This is not a supply anymore. This is just a nothing, right? It's only a supply once price action goes bearish in this case and closes bearish past the previous colored candle. So hopefully that made sense to you guys. That's the best way I can explain it. So in that case, we can see here our 4 hour supply right in this zone, right after the push happens, right? So the push happens, right? We have these two 4 hour bearish candles. The push happens. Now our 4 hour supply is here, right? The lowest part of the wick from the previous candle of the push, right? So I think that's pretty clear, right? It's pretty obvious that this is the lowest part of the candle after the push, before the push actually. So let's drop one more, 2 hour, right? We see there's a big push here. We can see there's actually two. There's one here and then one here. And then if we drop one more, we can see there's actually two more as well, right? So there's this one and this one. So you might ask, why did I mark up 2 for the 1 hour and 2 for the 2 hour? And that's because these haven't been used yet, right? We only classify a candle as a used supply zone if price action already reversed and already tapped into that zone. So we can see that this small little blue candle here, the upper wick portion of it did go up a little bit, but it did not wick out the previous 2 hour section, right? This is the next 2 hour supply zone. This 2 hour did not wick out above this to wipe it out, right? So there's still validity in this 2 hour supply zone, and it does not transfer to other time frames, right? So just because that 2 hour went above the 4 hour does not make the 4 hour invalid. The 4 hour is still very much valid. It's only after the candle starts to flip direction and head in the other way. In this case, it'd be the retracement, right? So we see the push downwards. Just because it wicked into this does not make it invalid anymore. It's still valid all the way until price reaches this point. In this case specifically, I kind of decided to ignore this 1 hour candle. I just think it's a lot cleaner if I have my fib sequence going from the top of the push to the bottom of the push. I can see my 0.618 zone lines up way better with this 4 hour supply. So I could honestly delete these two. I just kind of ignored it in this case for this reversal trend trade, since whenever there's a reversal trend trade, I like to keep my stop loss a little tighter. So if I am going to be entering, I don't want to enter in too early if I think it's going to retrace even more. So in this case, I left it like this exactly, right? So we have our, actually, I believe it might have been this. So we have our fib. Oh, why is it glitching? We have our fib. We have our supply zones now set, And now this is the part where I look for an entry position, right? So I'll take out my sell limit and I say, where do I want to enter the trade? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be here? So in this case, I had my sell limit, I believe, right in between these two, actually, just because they're so close together. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to respect the exact 0.618 zone or if I wanted to respect the 4-hour supply, right? And I'm always shooting for my entry to be the earliest possible price point where price might reject from. So in that case, it'll be the 4-hour supply. Since these two are so close together, I believe anywhere within this zone is very, very valid. You might have cases where you'll end up having like 3 or 4 different supply zones lining up super well within one area. So I always try to shoot for any case that might be here. So in this case, a perfect entry would probably be right around here in the 4-hour. I believe for this trade I had mine halfway between, but it really doesn't matter if you're half a pip above or below, right? You're trying to shoot for the move. So in this case, let's say this is our entry. Where do I put my stop loss? The stop loss is very important to keep it above all the zones where it might possibly reject from, right? So the way that I like to do it is I like to cover any upper supply zones that haven't been tapped yet. In this case, we have, the 4-hour is here. We have still the 1-hour and the 2-hour lining up very well right here. So there is potential where price can pull back. Even though we're entered in the trade, they might tap one of these 2 points before heading to the downside, right? We don't want to have our stop loss below this point because we're going to be very mad once price comes up here, taps these supply zones, and takes us out at stop loss and then continues to the downside. So we don't want to force anything too fast. So we want to at least cover this. In my case, I also like to cover the most recent high as well. Since I am swing trading, I like to cover more of the price action version of where I want to put my stop loss. So in this case, the most recent high was this point. I also like to cover the whole fib sequence area. So I like to keep it like this, right? So that's basically it. That's where you keep your entry and that's where you keep your stop loss. And let's just see how the play trades out, right? So price action is slowly coming back. Boom, we're wicked in. Wicks into our entry nearly perfectly, nearly by a single pip or two, right? To be exact, 3 pips. 3 pips in drawdown is how much we were on drawdown. We have a 31 pip stop loss, okay? We are doing just fine in this case, right? This is exactly what you want to see whenever you have a buy or sell limit and whenever you're placing a trade. You want to see your entry get taken in and instantly shoot into profit, right? Those are the best trades. So as you can see, we use the 4-hour supply. So now the 4-hour supply is no longer valid. Why? Because the 4-hour is using the previous 4-hour supply, right? It's the 4-hour time frame that's using it. We don't care if the 15-minute used it here earlier. This doesn't count to us, right? We don't care about this. We care about the 4-hour using it. And the same goes for the 1-hour, right? If price action came all the way up here, we want to make sure that the 1-hour wipes it out, not the 10-minute or the 5-minute, right? So we want to make sure that the time frames are taking out its own supply and demand. So that's basically it for this trade, right? And you continue down, you might hold this for another 1 to 2 or even more, right? You could hold this even longer, 1 to 2.78. It depends on where your profit is, right? So in this case, your profit might be maybe at these recent highs, right? And you want to put your take profit right here and you get an easy 1 to 2.8 or 2.18. So that's how you trade supply and demand with the entry. And when you're using the fxAlexG strategy, it's the same thing, except you're adding more confluence, say from a recent low or a recent high. You're using an area of interest where price might reject from. So you're just adding a lot of confluence together when you're building this type of entry position. And this entry is the absolute best. I literally don't think I like anything else besides this exact one because it wicks you into your entry, right? It perfectly wicks you into your entry and it goes straight into profit majority of the time, right? Not everything's 100%, majority of the time it will though. And the best thing that I like about it is that when I put my stop loss, I'm confident in my stop loss, right? I'm covering all of the zones that I believe price might still reject from, right? I'm not trying to catch the top where I'm gonna hit the perfect 1 to 10. We want to catch 1 to 2, 1 to 3. Those are the moves you want to catch consistently, not the 1 to 10s, right? So that's pretty much it for supply and demand entries. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it if you stuck all the way to the end. Go ahead and hit up my comment section if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer, or DM me on Instagram. I'm always active there as well. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed and stayed all the way to the end. I hope you have good luck trading this week, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.